We feel really fortunate. We get to do something we love with people that we love and care about, and the end product is something we're proud of. But that's a pretty, I think it's, that's a semi-rare thing to get to wake up and know that that's how you spend your time. I don't think that many of us ever thought we were going to be making whiskey.
A local distillery is about 1 month away from distributing its first product.
I think we all thought we were going to be brewers at some point, and that almost happened on and off. There was a couple of opportunities where we thought we were going to be doing beer, and kind of woke up one day and realized that we were drinking about as much single malt as we could get our hands on, and just had kind of unknowingly fallen in love with scotches at the time. And maybe a little bit overconfident, maybe a little naive. We thought to ourselves, how hard could that possibly be? The three of us who started the company back, 2008, I guess. Pretty wide variety of skill set, from electrical work and a little bit of plumbing and a little bit of masonry, where we thought we had the skills we needed, the know-how to get it built ourselves. It's closer to kind of like a garage setup, kind of an overblown garage setup. Nothing in there, very little that was in there was actually intended for the purpose we were using it for. But it was enough to get started, and by the time we kind of needed some more capital to keep the machine fueled. And if you're buying grain, you're buying barrels, and you're not getting paid back for that for years sometimes. So it takes a pretty decent amount of just capital to maintain it once you get cruising. We've had this building for a while, so we've been warehousing here for a long time. I guess maybe like 4 years or so, maybe. So obviously when it came time to need to grow the operation and put bigger stills in that obviously wouldn't fit at the old place, this was a logical next conclusion. And there's really some things about the building that we love and find it, just make it really endearing to us, that actually make it not super ideal for what we've done with it. We've worked really hard to kind of maintain its basic character, alter as little as possible. But we like it so much, it's really fun to be able to let other people come in and see it and get excited,
We have 2 major grain silos for storage of grain on property here. We've got one for malted barley and one for blue corn. Malt whiskey and blue corn whiskey encompasses about 80 to 85% of what we produce here at Balcones. From here, the grains are going to be fed from the bottom of the silos, driven by these chain belts inside the pipes, over into our milling room. So this is the brew house in here. You have the grains filtering out of the silos outside into the milling room, where that's where all the grain is crushed up into the grist, which is the gritty flour that we were talking about. From there, it's transferred into the hopper, and from the hopper, it goes into one of the processing vessels to actually turn into mash. So that's where we're basically taking the crushed grain and then mixing it with hot water, which is where we're going to extract a lot of the flavors and sugars and starches that we need for fermentation that will eventually be converted into alcohol by yeast. So in here we have our cereal cooker, which is where we're going to process anything that is not malted barley, essentially. So our blue corn whiskeys, rumble, which is the sugar, honey, and fig spirit, and our rum too, which is made out of molasses. They're all going to be processed in the cereal cooker right here before being transferred over into the fermenters in the next area. So in the fermenting tanks that we have outside, we're basically going to fill them with the mash, which is the crushed grain with hot water, and then we're going to pitch yeast on top of that. The yeast are single-celled organisms that are essentially going to consume the simple sugars that you have in the mash and then convert that into alcohol. So in the still house behind me is where we have our copper pot stills. We have 2 of them. Everything that we make is double distilled, so one distillation is going to take place in the larger wash still, and the second distillation takes place in the smaller wash still that has the cool little coil on top. Basically, we're going to take our fermented product, the wash, from the fermenters and fill the wash still with that. We start applying heat to the mixture, and the alcohol vapors escape and are recondensed into a liquid through the system and then collected as low wines. The low wines, which is the product of the first distillation, are still under spirit proof. They're only about 30% alcohol by volume. You have to run them through that second distillation to bring them up to spirit proof. At that point, we're going to take that spirit, add a little bit of Hill Country spring water to it, and then it goes into the barrels and up into the upper floors for actual warehousing and aging for up to 6 months, as long as 3 years probably.
So we're in the blending room right now, and this part of the process is where we've pulled all these different barrel samples. So each one of these glasses is a sample pulled out of a specific barrel, so they have barrel numbers and locations and what spirits in them. And so yeah, every week when we are trying to put bottlings together, we usually pull somewhere between somewhere 300 to 400, 500 sometimes, barrel samples to go through and smell and taste, and then try to put them together. What you eat affects what you can perceive, and it's going to affect your sense of smell and taste. You have to be careful about what you had for breakfast, what you're going to have for lunch. Sometimes you end up putting off a meal because you're like, I'm so close to getting this done, and if I eat, I'm going to have to start all over. You might start with stuff that you really like, and then the mid-palate might be flat, or the finish might be aggressive, or it just doesn't smell that great. And then you go back to the ones you've already combined and try to figure out what's missing and find barrels that can bring that to the mix, or if there's something that's faulty that's there that's a little irritating, try to find where the culprit is and remove that. Just keep trying different combinations till you feel like all the elements are working correctly.
So this is our tasting room. You'll be able to taste a selection of our house spirits, which may include Baby Blue, Rumble, or Texas Single Malt. Now, Baby Blue is our house corn whiskey. It's a 100% roasted blue corn mash. It's a very light and subtle whiskey that is extremely approachable, but really delivers the flavor of this awesome blue Hopi corn that we use to make it with. Rumble here is our main non-whiskey product. It is actually made from sugar, honey, and figs. So we actually mash the sugar, honey, and figs together to ferment them to create the wash, and then that liquid is distilled and aged. Of course, our flagship whiskey is Texas Single Malt. The whole reason that we started the distillery 8 years ago was to make a really awesome Texas-style single malt. So it's 100% malted barley mash. We're specifically using a style of barley called Golden Promise, which only comes from one maltster in the Scottish Isles.
We've done really well in competitions over the years. It's kind of a weird dynamic. I mean, on the one hand, these things probably shouldn't maybe mean as much as they do, but there's a pretty strong PR value, and a lot of customers have had this experience, and I still do it if I'm looking for something more like wine that I don't know as much about. You're looking at ratings, and they're on the shelf, and you use those to help you make an informed decision on either something that's going to be really good, or if you're trying to pick like rating to price, maybe try to find something that's a good value and you're trusting that someone else has put in more time with wine and is helping you make a decision. To be a part of a very exciting time for the city, and especially the downtown area. We feel really just fortunate to be in the middle of that and hopefully be a part of adding to that momentum. If anybody's thinking maybe this isn't a town for whatever it is they're thinking about doing for work, for business, or bringing something in, if they're like, oh, I don't know if that would work in Waco, I hope that our successes and some of the other people in the downtown area that are having a big impact on what's going on with Waco can make everyone realize that this is a community that's ready, that's supportive, and really has just a lot of excitement right now. And like I said, when we got started, we had no idea that that's where Waco was going to be in 2016, but we feel really fortunate to be a part of it.